Hello, and welcome to 5 Minute Math. Today, for our number talk, we are dividing fractions. So we've got our divisor here, 1/4. We're going to divide that into our dividend, 4/5. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to visualize it as long division, because that number that's inside the division bar, that's going to be our dividend. And so let's start with that. That's going to be the total we're starting with. I would say our whole, but it's not really even a whole. It's only 4/5. Let's represent it as fraction of a set. Find it a little bit easier to visualize it that way when I'm dividing a fraction by a fraction. All right, so I've got 4/5. Let's go ahead and just do a little shading in of 4 of them. All right, so I've got my 4/5. I need to divide that by my divisor, which happens to be this 1/4, right? You can see it here and also right here. So how do I divide that by 1/4? Well, let's cut each of these fifths that I've shaded in. I want to cut them into fourths. I find it's easier to cut it in half and then cut each half in half than to try to guesstimate each of those lines. And then we'll see, all right, cross-hatching, how many pieces do I have there? Well, that's 4 pieces. And then now I've got 8 pieces. I'm keeping a running tally. I've got 12 pieces. And then that's going to get me up to 16 pieces. So our numerator is how many pieces, how many little fourths do I have out of the 4/5? Well, I've got a total of 16, right, little fourth pieces. But how many total fifths were there? Well, that hasn't changed. It's still 5. So my new fraction is going to be 16/5. Now, how can I represent that in a different way? Well, if you know your reciprocals and how that works, you know that if you divide by a fraction, that's the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So what I mean by that is the reciprocal is any number you can multiply by a number or fraction to get back to 1. So if I want to multiply something by 1/4 to get back to 1, I always just flip it over, flip it upside down, because then you get the same numerator and denominator, which always simplifies down to 1. So the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4, or 4 over 1. So you have to flip it upside down to get the reciprocal. Then you need the inverse operation. So your division turns into multiplication. That ends up with the exact same answer. So 4/5, instead of dividing by 1/4, you can simply invert and multiply. And guess what you get? 16/5.